Welcome to Beacon of Creation, a weekly podcast on game design through the lens of Magic the Gathering. I'm Tim.
I'm Juliet.
We get extra spooky for Halloween. We've got a ghostly design challenge to review. Why don't you read that out for us?
Sure, our October design challenge was Going Ghost. Design a card that flickers, itself or something else, but doesn't return its target in the same turn. And we had some bonus points with this, which were Halloween Spirit, have the card be a spirit or care about spirits, and Spirit Halloween, make it a cheap knockoff of another card.
All right, so the main thing we're looking for here is this kind of flicker. You know, a card leaves and re-enters, but doesn't re-enter on the same turn. That's going to be the thing that's kind of unusual here. And we're going to be on the lookout for how people make that happen.
Mm-hmm.
All right,
mission.
I got to read this because I need you for something extra crucial on this.
Okay.
One.
Right,
Yeah.
of course.
Our first design is submitted by Dragon of the West.
Of the West.
It's called Shattered Likeness. 1 white for a 2/2. Creature Reflection Spirit. Looks like uncommon, maybe. So 3-mana 2/2. When this creature enters, exile target creature an opponent controls until this creature leaves the battlefield. At the beginning of your upkeep, exile this creature until your next turn.
It's a rare also. We can see at the very bottom there.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
In the flavor text, Elena is startled at the movement in the corner of her eye, but it was only her reflection.
So this is kind of like that O-Ring Banisher Priest.
Mm-hmm. It reminds me of, there's that D&D spell, I want to say it's called Blink. I could be wrong. Where you are like half in phase with reality and half out of phase with reality to make it harder for you to be targeted. Of course, in Magic we have phasing, but this instead is like, it's stepping away and interrupting one of your opponent's creatures each turn and triggering, if you have any, like, whenever a creature you control enters the battlefield or something, I suppose. It's funny that this works very differently than a typical O-Ring, Banisher Priest, Bishop of Binding, sort of thing, because it isn't about keep me on the board at all costs, keep the opponent's thing off the board at all costs. It is very much it's like adding a bunch of commas into a long sentence where just different things are going to be out of phase, back and forth, pushing each other out.
During your turn, this likeness is gone and your opponent's creature comes back. But then during your opponent's turn, this likeness comes back and their creature goes away. So like,
except wait, at the beginning of your upkeep, exile this creature until your next turn.
Oh, until your next turn. Oh, good clarification.
So wait,
I was misreading that.
Does this keep coming in? So the first time you cast this, it removes something from your opponent's side of the battlefield until your next turn.
Yeah.
At which point, on that upkeep, this disappears and your opponent's creature comes back. And then your opponent has a whole turn with that creature. And then this comes back in at the beginning of your next turn and then immediately disappears again.
So phasing, you mentioned that earlier. This is closer to phasing. I was misunderstanding this. I thought this left until end of turn. This leaves it until your next turn. So it's here every other turn. Banishing
I don't think this ever can attack, though.
Yeah, I think that's true.
Until your next turn would be like before your untap phase, I suppose this comes back in.
I guess it would come back during untap, but the trigger wouldn't go on until upkeep.
And so then can you stack the triggers as you want? Or is it the situation where...
Oh, funny. Yeah.
That this comes in and then just removes itself. And so you keep...
Immediately re-removes
blinking your opponent's creature. But not actually removing it after the first turn.
There's so many levels to this. I thought I knew how this worked and I was wrong. And then you told me how it worked. And that might also be wrong.
It is very fun that we look at this art and we see the person, we're like, okay, that's the person. But no, this is a creature reflection. This
Yeah.
creature is actually the one in the behind
Yeah.
the figure in the foreground.
Yeah.
Who's in that shattered background as a shattered likeness.
There you go. Yeah, broken mirror reflection. I don't know. This is starting to veer into the territory of like you're playing this card to just inflict confusion on the game more so than to achieve a gameplay objective. But the art's super cool. The flavor obviously makes a ton of sense. The gameplay I would like clarified, I think, if we wanted this to be a real card.
This
So you have a chance by the third read to know how it works, which maybe isn't true yet.
It could be like an Imakuni card in like Pokemon that just like, oh, this is just for confusion. It doesn't actually help you at all.
Yeah,
or this could be specifically good at every turn you get to remove one token that your opponent controls. And that's just like, hey, every turn I can snipe a token. This will never be an actual creature on the battlefield long enough for anyone to really target it, but it keeps coming by the threshold at the beginning of every evening to take out one token who can't come back from the flicker.
All right, so we get our first bonus point. It is a spirit. And then second bonus point, make it a cheap knockoff of another card. It's certainly like a clear reference to an existing card. Is it a cheap knockoff? I guess because it doesn't work the way you expect.
Uh-huh. We intentionally leave cheap up to multiple meanings. Yeah.
There you go. I like it. Thank you for the card.
Our next submission is from Crypt Rat. It's Springlock Sprinter. It's a 2/2 for 1 red and a white. Uncommon artifact creature, Fox Pirate Robot, with haste, and when this creature enters, exile up to 1 other target creature until this creature leaves the battlefield. Springlock Sprinter has double strike as long as a spirit card is exiled with it.
Springlock Sprite. Like something about locking and capturing spirits felt a little Ghostbuster-y at first, but Fox Pirate Robot doesn't have a huge Venn diagram with Ghostbusters to me.
Do you know what this is?
No.
This is a Five Nights at Freddy's card. I'm 99% sure.
Okay. Thank you. Our Five Nights correspondent, Juliet. We had a whole episode on it, so yeah, you're all studied up on it.
And they have a lot of weird creepiness around ghosts and bodies and spirits and sort of things inhabiting these robots. Or not robots, but I mean, they are robots.
A Springlock suit is like a suit that you can wear that's also animatronic. So yeah, Five Nights is like animatronic robot, creepy animals. All right, yeah, this feels like a little more straightforward in what I'm trying to do with it. I think it's kind of cool that I could eat my own spirit if I have a good reason to. Like, I dare you to kill my Fox Pirate because then I'll get my spirit back and I'll get another ETB off that spirit. It has some cool thing. But if like this format just has a lot of spirits and I get to play this creature, exile my opponent's spirit, get double strike, attack for 4, that's also really fun.
Yeah. The idea of either haste 2/2 on a Banishing Light.
Yeah.
For that extra red mana seems fine. It's like, okay, well, sometimes the haste you aren't going to want to attack in because if they can just trade and then, they get their card back. Or this is champion a spirit and get a hasty double strike 2/2 for 1 red and white.
Yeah, I like this card. When you have like Banisher Priest, they are kind of vulnerable creatures. So there's still like the tempo on this card is like quite high. Like it's quite a powerful card if your opponent is helpless. But then it can also kind of backfire. There's the new Dustborn card Sheltered by Ghosts, which is like an aura that's a Oblivion Ring and then gives like lifelink and ward and stuff like that. And that's like a very exciting card to play because you play it, and if everything goes right, you have like a bigger creature who's lifelink and you get rid of your opponent's thing. But if you're not careful when you deploy the card, your opponent could just remove the creature. You also remove the aura. They also get the creature back, and it's a big disaster. The Sprinter seems like it's in the same vein.
That makes sense.
It's just like a straightforward, solid, fun card. Like I think when I come into these design challenges, I'm prepared to be like hit with things that are going to confuse me or be like a crazy technology. But this is just a really good card.
Mhm. And it hits the delayed flicker and the caring about spirits in a way that makes some like conceptual sense.
Do you think like anything Five Nights at Freddy's is like automatically a cheap knockoff? Is that like built into the franchise that like these robots are like they're decrepit little animatronic creatures? So we get the flavor that way.
One thing I learned from our previous Five Nights at Freddy's episode with Corv is that there's like the original games, and then there's I think books based on those games.
Yeah.
There might be then games based on those books, and
Hell yeah.
there's a movie, and I think there are books based on the movie, and then there might be games based on the books, based on the movie, based on the games.
Love
I
this.
I'm not an encyclopedic expert
Hmm.
up to date on all of this, but I think there's a charming knockoff nature to some of, as Jorge Luis Borges would tell us, the original is unfaithful to the translation. That like adapting
uh,
things isn't always like
mm,
worse. That's just like, oh,
yeah.
it's different and new in different ways.
Yeah, maybe we maybe having a negative connotation on cheap knockoff is something that we're not trying to to create for our
Mhm,
review environment here. It's we don't want to say like this is cheap and that it's bad or unworthy, but more just
mhm.
it's evoking some of that feeling, I guess.
If you have like a Chuck E. Cheese and then you have a chain of Chuck E. Cheeses,
Yeah.
is each new one you build a knockoff of? Because it's like, oh, it doesn't have. It's just like, oh,
Yeah.
there's the same robots that we've like are mass producing now.
Yeah, that's like what it kind of like when like restaurants get franchised from having like 5 locations to like 200. I think
Mhm,
that's definitely true. Like the 200th one is a knockoff of what made the originals so good. And maybe it's still good to go to, but yeah.
mhm. Our next submission is from Juliet. It's Shepherding Librarian. It's a rare 1/1 creature spirit for a single white mana with when this enters, exile another target creature you own. The next time you draw a card, return that creature to the battlefield. When you do, if the returned creature's power is greater than the number of cards in your library, your life total becomes your
What?
starting life total.
Okay. This is what I braced myself for a design challenge. This is the kind of card that, yeah. Cryptmass card was too straightforward and good. This one, I'll have to figure out if it's good by thinking about it for a while.
Uh-huh.
Before we get to the like life refill part,
Mhm.
we're going to enter, exile another creature you own. Then the next time you draw a card, it comes back. It'll probably come back on your next draw step,
Mhm.
but you could make it come back sooner if you have some sort of cantrip effect. You could surprise someone. So this is sort of letting you like slightly slow flicker or like flicker where you have maybe some deck building control over when you want this card to come back.
If you have a clue, for instance, you could
Yeah.
spend 2 mana to like bring something in mid-combat.
This card might be pretty useful even before you get to the second part of the card. It might just be nice to play this little guy. It exiles another thing. That other thing comes back and re-ETBs or whatever. Or, it knocks an aura off
Mhm.
of it, that kind of thing. That could be kind of useful on its own. But then we have a second half of this. When it comes back, if its power is greater than the number of cards in your library, then your life total, you reset to your starting life total. This is good if I am ripping through my library, but I am ad nauseuming or something where I need to pay a lot of life to shred my library, and then I need to recoup that life with this librarian. I feel like this isn't quite like the aggro stopper life gain card because
Mhm.
you got to be doing something complicated where you are able to shred your library but not able to stop a couple tutus.
Or have a creature with massive power but isn't already winning
Oh
you
yeah,
the game.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, because I guess if you had a card that like cared about the number of cards in your graveyard or something, then you could
Mhm.
shred half your library and bring back a creature that's now a 25/25, and then reset your life.
This was my cheap knockoff of Thassa's Oracle, trying to figure out how much potential upside could you put on a 1 mana 1/1 like single white mana? It is a creature and it's a flicker, so it's like
Yeah.
there's a lot there. So obviously this can't win you the game. And like resetting to your starting life total is a very strong thing to do for a single white mana. But
Hmm.
it is
Oh,
trying
okay.
to
Yeah.
be. I don't know if Thassa's Oracle was originally designed to be kind of a weird, fun, get a ton of blue devotion and mill yourself like Shelldock Isle sort of
Yeah.
situation,
Yeah.
or whether it was always supposed to be a combo finisher. But this is trying to get in that space. Okay, hey, I'm doing weird. I guess this is the opposite of near death experience, but like, you can't just remove your library and have 0 library and have this
Oh,
work, which
funny.
is typically what you do with Thassa's
Yeah,
Oracle.
with Thassa's
'Cause you
Oracle, yeah.
need you need to have 1 card to be able to draw that card and not lose the game in order to get the creature back onto the
Yeah.
battlefield to start the triggers.
Yeah, Thassa's Oracle is kind of a similar thing here, but instead of caring about power, it cares about devotion. And then if you meet that requirement, you win the game. Like it just literally tells you win the game. Whereas this gives you your life total back. So it's a less direct path to victory, I guess.
Mhm.
Do we need more just kind of like rares that have like some utility and then just 4 additional lines of text that that just puzzle people? Is that a good does that enrich our Magic experience?
You know, I maybe. We'll see. We will see.
All right. Our next one is Wraith of Dog. 2 white white for a 1/1 creature dog spirit at rare. 4 mana 1/1 dog. It has flying. When it enters, if it was cast from your hand, exile all other creatures. They become plotted. Plotted was the Thunder Junction thing where you can cast it on your turn. This kind of flickers everything out or pushes everything off the battlefield, but then their owners can replay them on their turn on future turns.
Flavor text. Okay, the scroll didn't actually contain the divine light of Avacyn, but it got the job done, didn't it? ... No refunds. Old Rutstein, legitimate business person.
There you go. Instead of Wrath of God, we got Wraith of Dog.
Your opponent gets to recast their creatures before you do, but unless anything has haste, you'll still get to put your creatures back onto the battlefield before they can like attack in.
Yeah.
This seems clever and kind of fun.
Yeah.
Like this does just enough to be like worth playing in certain circumstances. How would you feel about this in Commander?
I would say it's less severe as an opponent, as the person being dogged.
Mm-hmm.
It feels less bad than a Cyclonic Rift, probably feels less bad than a Wrath. It could reset things that I care about, like maybe I've built up a bunch of counters on my commander and it's going to take me another 2 turns to get those back. So it could slow down my plan a little bit. But I guess it's maybe more like a Fog or a Holy Day, kind of like take a turn off of attacking more so than dismantle everything. I guess it blows away all tokens. Yeah, so I think it does something. If you have other reasons to be doing this card feels like it has a place and that you'd play with it. Plotted is like the right mechanical execution for this, but like, I don't know what the Wraith of Dog and Plotted have to do with each other. Those don't quite fully mesh.
I suppose the dog could be digging a big hole like dogs do,
Like a
which
plot.
is uh-huh.
The people's champion, Juliet, making sure to connect the flavor at all costs. I like this.
Different verb. I'm curious. I'm gonna look this up.
Yeah.
Take this time. Yeah. So plot as a noun, late Old English plot.
Small piece of ground of defined shape, a word of unknown origin.
Oh no.
The sense of ground plan, and thus map, chart, survey a field, farm, etc., is from the 1550s. Plat, P-L-A-T, is a Middle English collateral form. The meaning of a secret, plan, fully formulated scheme, usually to accomplish some evil purpose, is from the 1580s, probably by accidental similarity to complot, from Old French complot, combined plan, compared with the French evolution of plan. It's also a word of unknown origin, perhaps a back formation from compeloter, to roll into a ball from pelote, ball.
Oxford English Dictionary says the usage probably became widely known in connection with the gunpowder plot, which is next week.
Oh, the November thing?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Gunpowder plot. Yeah, this is one that's a little bit of a weirdo, but I feel like you, at least from the commander perspective, I could really imagine why you'd put this in some decks. And I think that if you do put it in that deck, it wouldn't be too, but we wouldn't want another Cyclonic Rift. That's like a really obnoxious card to me. But this isn't nearly that. And I think it's pretty cool because of that.
And hypothetically, you could figure out something where you are casting you're blinking this every other turn or something, and you're really stalling stuff.
Yeah, it does at least give us the mercy of it only does this thing if it was cast from your hand. So you do have to go through the effort
if it was cast from your hand.
You have to get it back in your hand, which is still a very plausible thing for a blue-white deck to be doing. But it's not quite as just, pay 1 mana to flicker this and reset the battle.
This is, of course, a spirit. This does a delayed flicker, and it's a cheap knockoff of Wrath of God.
Yep.
Our next submission is from Oreo Orca. It's Soulbound Castigators. It's 2 and a white for a 2/2 creature core spirit at uncommon with flying, and whenever this creature dies, create a Hedron token. It's a saga with first chapter, exile up to 1 target creature. Third chapter, return the exiled card to the battlefield under its owner's control.
3 mana 2/2 flyer, totally normal amount of stats. When it dies, you get this Hedron token. So right when it dies, it's going to exile a creature. If that's during your turn, then the creature stays away for longer. If this is a blocker, for example, then those saga chapters will tick a little bit faster.
The flying part, I think, is a little bit interesting that, there are some games where this just isn't going to die. It's going to kind of plink in, and either you're going to race or your opponent's going to race, or it isn't going to matter. But then if you hold this back in blocking, or if your opponent is able to block a flyer, then once this dies, then it starts having this extra effect there.
Yeah, this is not a creature that's like built to die stats. Like it's not like a 4/2 on the ground or whatever. This is a flyer, and it might be, as good an asset not using its ability as using its ability, which is cool.
How would you feel about a set with a whole bunch of Hedron tokens?
10 cards that make Hedron tokens or something.
Tim, who doesn't like sagas.
That's true. Well, you preempted what I was going to say. Because I don't totally love this as a saga. A Hedron is an artifact to me. Maybe that's not correct, but if I'm making a Hedron token, I expect that to be an artifact, just if you just say that. Why do we want this over tap and stun? Creatures that have static abilities, we want to keep those off the battlefield for some reason. We want to flicker our own things. We got core love to be, landfall and bounce and all that kind of stuff. I'm not like 2 thumbs up on the Hedron token as it's executed here, but it does something. You put this in a set, you start playing with it, and then you're probably 1 revision away from something that's really choice.
Okay, I'm imagining a set in my head.
Yeah.
The Eldrazi might be done on Zendikar, but let's imagine that they're not, and we're going back, or we're telling an alternate thing. Where we have Eldrazi Scion Amass. So you have this these Eldrazi tokens getting big and big, and it's like, oh wow, I suddenly have a 5/5 Eldrazi token. It's like, okay, well I need a Hedron to reset that, and then my opponent will probably get another big Eldrazi token pretty soon here with all of these different little token generators that end up just putting counters on. We've got a whole bunch of tall tokens that then we can be exiling, or maybe this is really great in your allies deck where you get all of these ETBs. Try to figure out the timing right on that. I don't know.
Hmm. Yeah, I guess with Eldrazi, you're also keeping Eldrazi off the battlefield is worth doing because they're, a 7/7 or something. So yeah, that's kind of nice. What flavor would I like for this Saga token? Like, what kind of text or something like that? Like a law or something? Like bureaucracy token? This is a bad name, but like something where, I have to listen to something for a long time. And then once I'm done listening to that, then I'm free to go. I don't know.
I have to go pay a parking ticket. You don't have to go into a place and wait for my number to be called. I wonder if if you want it to be a saga, if it's like Seaside Holiday.
Yeah.
We did this thing and now congratulations, you killed my Soulbound Castigators. You get to go on an all expenses paid 2-turn trip to go see the coast, or maybe sit through some timeshare presentations, or
yeah,
that's a saga because that's like the telling of an experience. Like either we just need to really divorce the word saga from meaning anything,
yeah.
and it just has a mechanical meaning, or we have to really contort things to figure out stuff around to figure out, okay, well, everything technically is a story because we're all cards are being like spoken into the world. All things are being described. But can this be, or do we start having like artifact enchantment sagas, or do we find a thing that has the exact frame of a saga but can have slightly different rules text that's like a vertical artifact thing?
Yeah. I think I would be much happier with that. I think the use of the word saga, of the flavor of saga, is probably the main weakness of this to me, because I think otherwise I could certainly see a place for all the mechanics of this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, thank you for the card. Next up, we've got Ellie, who smirks at ghouls. 2 and a black for a 3/2 for just like a necromancer skull lady. Legendary creature zombie wizard at rare. Whenever this attacks, you may play white, black, so 2 hybrid mana, black, white hybrid mana. When you do, create a tapped and attacking black 2/2 ghoul creature token with Decayed, and when this enters, exile target creature card with power 2 or less from a graveyard. When this creature leaves the battlefield, return that creature to the battlefield under its owner's control. And then it has reminder text, which I was thinking about while reading this. Decay does not trigger when this enters attacking. So Decayed is the token from like Midnight Hunt. It's a 2/2. When this attacks, sacrifice it at end of combat. That's an attack trigger. So if you're put into combat tapped and attacking, you don't trigger attack triggers. This says, hey, I want that gameplay. I want it to be a Decayed token. So I'm going to put the flavor text, or put the reminder text on here to make this clear. The quick little flavor text here. Great Undeath with sword in hand.
I want to jump to the card this is a comparison to at the beginning here, because I think it's a useful thing to help us kind of understand what's going on, which is Alicia, who smiles at death from Fate Reforged, which is 2 and a red for a rare 3/2 legendary creature human warrior. And whenever Alicia, who smiles at death, attacks, you may pay the same cost, white, black hybrid. If you do, return target creature card with power 2 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped and attacking. And then the flavor text, death with sword in hand. So this is a fun undead mono black like shift for this.
Yeah.
And so instead when this attacks and we're paying the mana, we're creating a 2/2 that's decayed and attacking.
Yeah.
And then on its next turn, when it attacks, so the zombie enters now, attacking. Next turn, you can attack with it and have it die. And then that actual creature card from your graveyard that you exiled a turn earlier comes in. And then a third turn, then that creature can start attacking.
Yeah. Which it takes a little while to figure out what's going on here. Like, first I get a zombie. I guess if that zombie dies in the first combat, my little token, then I get my actual creature back even faster. Or if I sacrifice it or something else. So,
oh, that's a good point.
if I can protect Ellie and have Ellie attack fairly consistently, I have the like sacrifice fodder that you're used to with decayed tokens, and you're not working against your own interest by like sacrificing these tokens for like altars or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Because I get my creature back. Hey, that puts the creature back in the graveyard. There's no finality counter or anything, so my creature dies again. My actual creature card dies again. Ellie can bring it back again, or bring another zombie back to bring that creature back again. So you don't need 5 cards in your graveyard. You just need like 1 or 2 that are pretty good, and then Ellie can like reuse those and make them dance over it.
I think that makes a lot of sense. I mean, it's not exactly flickering, but it is a kind of like, okay, you're leaving your zone, you're going to exile, and you'll eventually make it back to the battlefield, but not this turn, and maybe not for a while, depending on how things end up working out.
Alicia's card, you can get that pretty much on the first read, what you're trying to do and why you're doing it. Ellie here, I think you have to read it, 2 or 3 times to really know exactly when you get your creature back. But I think once you understand how it works, then I don't know, I think it becomes cool. I think it's a cool card.
Yeah.
Ellie doesn't have first strike, unlike Alicia, so Ellie, maybe we get some bonus cheap knockoffness and that it's like a little worse at keeping itself alive than Alicia is. So yeah, I think this succeeds at the challenge.
Especially in imagining like a tiny leaders sort of
There we go.
sort of situation where the first strike really makes a difference. And Ellie is particularly vulnerable, but maybe if you're playing this kind of like mono black or just black white instead of Mardu setup, you can, reanimate. You bring Ellie back and a bunch of other things. A bunch of your other things die, and then Ellie can keep churning out either 2/2s or these other things, and your opponent's like, I gotta block. We all have infinite 2/2s. We're gonna block some, and you're gonna keep getting value out of those blocks.
Is Alicia the iconic commander for Tiny Leaders? I never actually played Tiny Leaders, but I feel like those two are like really closely associated to me.
Yeah, that is definitely a thing. Especially because Alicia is, well, you want to have basically all of your creature cards have power 2.
Yeah.
2 or less, but like you want to maximize that in the same way that like if you're playing an unearthed deck, you want almost all of your creatures to be mana value 3.
Yeah. It's like commander, but all the creatures have to be 3 or less mana, or I don't remember the exact restriction.
I think all of the cards have to be mana value 3 or less. Our next card is from Tactical Bane. It's Mist Hollow Geist. It's 2 white and a white for a 3/3 creature spirit at rare with flying and soul bond, from Avacyn Restored. It has, when this creature enters, if it is unpaired, exile it. If a creature this creature is paired with would leave the battlefield, exile this creature instead. Whenever an unpaired creature enters under your control, you may return this creature from exile to the battlefield paired with it.
Oh, okay. So this is like a guardian angel almost. And it can't not be a guardian. It needs something to guard. I'll read the reminder for Soulbond because we haven't seen this card in a while. You may pair this creature with another unpaired creature when either enters. They remain paired for as long as you control both. So if I have no creatures and I cast this, the second line kicks in. When this creature enters, if it's unpaired, exile it because there was nothing to pair with. So I've got this exiled Mist Hollow Geist, and then I play my elf. This creature sees whenever an unpaired creature enters under your control, you may return this creature from exile to the battlefield paired with it. So my Mist Hollow Geist is finally a friend, jumps in, grabs that elf, they hold hands forever. Then if that elf would leave the battlefield, instead the Geist is like, no, take me instead. The elf survives, it's sitting on the battlefield, the Geist goes away. But that elf never re-entered, so it's just going to sit there unpaired. And we're just waiting for a third creature to enter, and then the Geist jumps back in.
Yeah, I think of it almost like, kind of like Umbra armor in a way also. where if you have creatures out, Mist Geist is going to be connected to one of them.
Yeah.
And then somebody plays a Wrath, and the Geist goes away, but that your other creature stays on the battlefield.
Yeah.
Because this is like doing a replacement effect for that creature.
Yeah.
And then whenever you play another creature, the Geist can't go and protect the previous one, but it is coming back from exile, so it is kind of double insurance against Wraths because it protects the original creature, and this will come back without needing to spend extra mana to bring it back.
I think this card might not work with damage as you'd want. Like if my elf buddy takes 5 damage, and then it would leave the battlefield because it has lethal damage marked on it. The guy says, no, take me instead. The Geist disappears, but then this creature still also dies.
Right.
I don't know quite how to fix that with the way the other parts of this card work.
Yeah. Thinking about the way like Umbra Armor as keyword works, I think it specifically just spells out instead remove all damage from it and destroy this aura. So that would be instead remove all damage from it and exile this creature instead.
Remove all damage. Yeah. Would leave the battlefield. Remove all damage from it, then exile this creature instead. Yeah. If I have a creature out already and I want to play this Miss Geist, they just have to become paired. Or wait, do I have to pair? If I already have my Merfolk out, I cast this.
You may pair this creature with another unpaired creature when either enters. But
when this enters, if it's unpaired, exile it. So yeah,
exactly.
I don't literally have to pair, but if I want this creature to stay on the battlefield, I have. Okay, yeah.
This feels like a spirit, is a thing I will say.
Yeah, absolutely.
This really
that's a good point.
Gets that kind of like ghost, not necessarily totally in with reality sort of step. And it uses Soulbond to do it, which is kind of impressive.
Yeah. I guess like you think of the haunted house or whatever, and like there is a ghost there, but the ghost is sort of inert when it's like unobserved. Like if no one's there, if no one's looking at the ghost, if there's nothing to howl at or whatever, or nothing to connect with, that the ghost just sort of isn't anything. And then someone enters the house and starts living there, and then the ghost is like, oh, this is something I can react to. This is something I can be part of, make a connection to.
Reminds me a bit of Lovestruck Beast from Eldraine.
Yeah, that's the like big beast that can create a token with his adventure and then can't attack unless you control a 1/1 creature. So it needs a friend in order to do what it wants to do. What's the upside with this card if I do, assuming all the mechanics are sick and work great? I've got a 4-mana 3/3 that, can be a flyer and hit things, and then also really tries to protect the thing it's paired with. That's the point of this card. It's like an Umbra Armor, but instead of the stats going to the buddy, it has its own separate stats, its own separate body.
And if you are playing in something like a commander-ish sort of environment, this could protect, 3 different creatures from various board wipes over the course of a game.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool, alongside being able to be a 3/3 that can... You probably don't want this to die in combat necessarily. You want the other creatures to, but like hopefully you can just fly over and occasionally wallop things.
Yeah, that's a good point, that you could use this across multiple creatures over the course of a long game. And I think that really emphasizes that we want to, if we can, tighten this down a little bit so it's a little clearer what's happening while you're playing. I think that would be fun. It's like jumping to different hosts and helping different hosts. That feels really ghosty and cool. I think that's a great flavor idea.
Yeah.
Thanks for that card. Next up, we've got Red Bay's card. This is called Spirit of Ash. It's white, black for an enchantment creature spirit. It's a 1/1, so 4-mana 1/1 flyer. When this enchantment enters, exile another target non-land permanent. When this dies, if it was a creature, exile it. At the beginning of your next upkeep, return it to the battlefield. It's an aura enchantment with enchant creature you control, and Enchanted creature has flying. 4 mana, exile a permanent, but it's a flyer. Oh, that's kind of cool. Instead of a 2/2 ground creature, we got a flyer. And then when it dies, at the beginning of the next upkeep, it comes back as an aura that is going to exile a new thing and then also give the enchanted creature flying.
The it is one of those like those things that I'm just like, wait, which is it? So when Spirit of Ash dies, if Spirit of Ash was a creature when it died, exile Spirit of Ash.
Yeah.
At the beginning of the next upkeep. So this is the flicker. There's two flickers kind of.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
The one is not a flicker, it's just an exile another target non-land permanent. And then this one is the flicker. When this dies, you flicker it out, exile it, and then beginning of the next upkeep, return it to the battlefield, it enchants a creature you control and gives it flying. So that's that is interesting. I think the bulk of the card's power is in it being a 4 mana 1/1 flyer that doesn't vindicate because it's non-land, but that
I was not reading this correctly. When this enters, it just zaps something. It never comes back. It's not a Banisher Priest. This is like a Chupacabra. This is going to kill something when it enters. Okay. Huh. Well, that makes the card a lot simpler to play with. I was thinking that we were managing like multiple Banisher Priests, but it's not Banisher Priest. It's like, yeah. Okay.
it's Utter End. That's it. Utter End is the 4 mana. That's 2 white and a black for an instant with exile target non-land permanent.
Well, so there is some savage new art for Utter End in the Duskmourn Precon. Holy cow! I just Scryfall this. That's cool.
And like the previous art for Utter End was not bad, but this is kind of taking it to another level.
It was Zergo chopping a dude in half, but this is, you're not coming back from whatever's happening to this creature. For Razorkin, painless dissolution is far worse fate than agonizing death. Painless dissolution. All right, yeah, so we've got Ashen Rider, I think, is the comp here, which is like an old 7 mana big flyer that, when it entered or left, you got to Utter End something.
As soon as I saw the white, black, even before the name or the abilities, I was like, oh, this is going to be an Ashen Rider, isn't it? This is, I don't know why, but just seeing white, black like that, I'm just like, oh, Ashen Rider.
Which has been sort of like a reanimate target. Like it's 8 mana for a 5/5 flyer that enters or dies, exile target permanent. This is 4 mana. I feel like this is more generically playable, right? Like, because even if getting white, black is a little tricky. Maybe that's not turn 4. Maybe on turn 4, I'm not trying to deploy this yet. I'm trying to wait until turn 5 or 6 any. We had a couple kind of goofball-y cards that you have to really deck build around. This is, can you play these colors, play this card? And then you get a second exile as long as you can keep a creature on the battlefield to be the host for this. Is this sort of Haunt? Is this like a Haunt cousin?
I guess it is. It sure, it's a Haunt cousin. It's got some what's the Duskmourn coming back as a enchantment?
Oh yeah, Enduring.
Yeah, the Glimmer sort of thing where it's coming back. Except Enchanted Creature has flying is just one of those that does something, but it mostly means you aren't going to reanimate this, except if you have some sort of flicker effect that can target non-lands, you could flicker the aura and bring it back as a creature.
There you go. You can just flicker this as a creature and just every flicker annihilates something.
Sure. Yeah, that's probably the but if your opponent does remove it, as long as they don't also remove your other creatures, because you do need a creature for it to enchant and everything, then you could be flickering it for decisive value, and your opponent just says, listen, I either have a way to kill all your creatures at once or a way to work around this, or I have to give up.
This is one of the better flicker targets that exist. I guess it's hard to get on the battlefield. That's the main tricky thing.
It's like this and Avalanche Riders, I think are pretty high up there.
There you go. Yeah.
Obviously, there's a spirit. We've got some delay on the return. We've got those things. And this is in homage to Ashen Rider. This
Yeah.
works as a cheap knockoff because Ashen Rider, has the ETB and dying to do the extra one. But and this is cheaper because it chops half the mana cost off from 4 white, white, black, black to just white, white, black, black. But it's a good card on its own. Its own right.
Yeah, this is like a cheap knockoff, maybe knockoff in the sense that the other one was a 5/5. This is a 1/1.
Mm-hmm. Our next submission is from Cord, Omen Pilled Plushie. It's Ho Ho Ko, the Jolly. For 2 blue and a green, it's a legendary Planeswalker Oko. The +1 loyalty ability is exile the top card of each player's library. Put 2 time counters on it. It gains Suspend. The -1 on this Planeswalker is each player creates a 1/1 white elk spirit creature token with flying, and whenever this creature deals combat damage to a player, remove a time counter from a card in exile that player controls. And its -4 ultimate is exile target creature, put 2 time counters on it, it gains Suspend. And so this is 2 blue and a green for a Planeswalker that enters with 5 loyalty counters. So it can do its ultimate on the turn you have it enter and still stick around.
There's like a card called Suspend that like exiles a creature and puts 2 time counters on it. So this is sort of like that as the -4. It's funny how the existing things that grant Suspend also have this other clause. If it doesn't have Suspend, it gains Suspend. And I'm not going to dock Cord for not having that text on this Planeswalker, but it is funny to think, what happens if you have Suspend twice? Do you lose 2 counters a turn?
That's a fun, that's a fun design for somebody to put out there. Like, oh, here's this like time traveler card who has Suspend, Suspend, Suspend.
Yeah.
With like 9 whatever, and then when you remove a time counter from a card in exile, draw 3 cards or whatever, or draw a card because then you're drawing 3 cards every.
Exile the top card of your library. It gains Suspend for each time you've cast your commander from the command zone this game.
Mm-hmm.
So we're getting more and more and more Suspends stacked on. I kind of like that. We're laughing about it. I don't know. I'm kind of feeling it.
You can spend extra mana for a card, and for each there's like it's an X and Y kicker cost, and for each X you spend, you create a copy, and those copies have Suspend for each Y that you've spent, and so you can like squad storm Suspend things.
So in terms of making things get suspended, the +1 exiles the top card of each player's library and gains Suspend. Are we understanding that means that each player is going to cast their own card eventually? We're giving gifts away? Or do I, as the Ho-Ho-Ko player, do I have the rights to those cards?
I'm not sure. I really genuinely don't know what would actually work in practice or what would be intended here.
I guess on the text for Suspend says at the beginning of its owner's upkeep, they remove a time count. So part of the definition of Suspend is that the owner is the one removing time counters, and then when the last is removed, they may play it without paying its mana cost. So
there we go.
You can't suspend to steal something. You'd need extra words to make Suspend be a thief thing.
Okay, each player creates a 1/1 white elk spirit creature token with flying, and whenever this creature deals combat damage to a player, remove a time counter from a card in exile that player controls. So when these 1/1 white elk spirit creature tokens with flying, I can't tell whether they are reindeer or not.
Yeah.
I suppose they are. Reindeer are kind of elk.
Yeah.
When they deal damage to a creature, it actually accelerates any suspended cards that they have. So you're helping
them getting their presence. Yeah. Yeah, and you can exile target creature, put 2 time counters on it to gain suspend. So that's like you're on the naughty list or something, I guess, for our Santa Claus here.
And that's our blink. That's
Oh,
you're
yeah.
borrowing the creature
Yeah.
away and then returning it on a
That's
later
like
turn.
the meeting the challenge. Yeah, good point.
Mhm.
Yeah, so this Hohoko is mostly out there to just make everyone have some fun stuff happen. Is it fair to call it group hug? This is
Yeah, this totally
there's
is
not a
group
lot
hug.
of reason to kill this thing. At first, the minus you might expect, like, hey, when my elks hit, I get my stuff faster. No, when my elks hit, their stuff happens faster.
Mhm.
Funny.
I wonder what is green here,
Oh, okay, yeah.
because we're having everybody draw a card, more or less. We're creating a 1/1 flyer that removes time counters when it hits other players, and we are blinking creatures, like exiling target creature and putting time counters on it. All of which seem kind of in like blue to blue white sort of spaces.
Yeah, yeah. I guess, like, Oko is great.
Uh-huh. That
I,
sometimes that's enough.
all right, here's my precedent. Here's my legal precedent, and I bring this stupid commander up on the podcast too often. But Alondo the Seer is a blue
Oh,
green
sure.
card that is sort of in the same vein. It's drawing cards, it's suspending things. Creatures are coming out.
Mhm. And as we always say,
So saith the wise Alondo.
so saith the wise Alondo. Do, 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 do,
Do, do, do.
do. Uh,
Mages and Murder Dads shout out. There we go.
mhm. Yeah, so I think with Alondo as precedent and Oko existing, I mean, this is like I almost want this card to be like a little bit more Acorn and just have it be a holiday card.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Maybe the plus cheating things into play off the top. I think that would be the kind of thing that you would often say, let's not give that to blue.
Sure.
You want that to be distributed. So maybe that's our non-blue
Yeah.
aspect.
Honestly, the thing that this card might be is like red blue.
Yeah.
In
Which
that
red, that kind of works with
Mhm.
Santa.
So maybe this could be like red, blue, green,
Mm-hmm.
like that one Sarkin style. Like that way we've got the red, green for Christmas. We've got the blue for a bunch of stuff. Red, blue loves to like do time counter, fiddly, Joyra sort of things.
Yeah.
But yeah, fun card.
Alrighty, yeah. This is a funny one. I guess he got group hug mayhem going around, but then some Grinch is just gonna hit Hohoko for 4 damage, and then the fun's over.
Mhm.
Next up, we've got from James Dalton Bell. Always excited to see a card from them. It's called Collector Spectre. 4 white blue for a 4/4 flyer, so 6 mana 4/4 flyer. When this creature enters, for each player, exile up to 1 target creature that player controls for as long as this creature is on the battlefield. Banish a priest, but for each player, including yourself. And then 1 white blue tap. Return a creature exiled with this to the battlefield under your control. Activate only as a sorcery. So I can selectively return one of those things even before this spirit dies.
So I was trying to figure out what card this could be like a knockoff to. And the one that immediately came to mind was Lagrella the Magpie from Streets of New Capenna. The Bant card with the slightly confusing text where it says, when this enters the battlefield, exile any number of other target creatures controlled by different players until this leaves the battlefield. People are like, so I can just exile everything? It's like, no. It's what it actually means is for each player, exile up to 1 creature they control. So for Collector Spectre, the up to 1 means that you don't have to exile this if it's your only creature, right?
Oh, funny. Yeah. You could if you want to for some reason. You just want to flicker one thing for each player. Yeah. And actually, if you have no creatures, your opponent has 5 tokens in play. If I target myself and a token, does this thing then return again, and I can do that as many times as I want? Or can I just play this on an empty board and have infinite ETBs?
I don't know. So it's exiled for as long as it's on the battlefield. This might be one of those things that, actually, this is why we have some weird. This makes all future cards need to have some extra text to stop things in the style of a Oblivion Ring.
Yeah.
Or just make this for each other player, probably.
Yeah. Well, you kind of want your own thing to be hittable, but maybe not for exile up to one other target creature. Yeah, so it can't hit itself. I don't know. I was kind of entertained by using it to be like rules wiggle my way into exiling a board of tokens. But if I could just infinite ETB, then maybe that's like just not, that's a little too far. This is like a 6-mana 4/4 flyer, and it has a tap ability that is sorcery only. So I'm like giving up on my big flyer in order to do this thing.
You are getting like a control magic out of you are getting stealing.
Return the exiled creature to the battlefield under your control. Oh. It is a good thing we spent so much time on these cards, because this is like the 4th card today that I've just completely missed how the mechanics worked.
You're either getting a 4/4 flyer for 6 mana that zaps the best creature all of your opponents control, and then you can just attack in for 4/4 and hope that they don't have removal. Or you're getting, I got through one full turn cycle with this, but I think my opponent is going to use targeted removal against this. I'm going to spend 1 white and a blue to put their best creature on the battlefield under my control.
Yeah. Okay.
And now they don't have any reason to target this, because if they do target this with their, Terror or Doomblade or whatever, then all of our opponents get their creatures back.
Yeah, so that makes this a little bit like a hostage taker, the old pirate. When hostage taker enters, exile another target creature or artifact until hostage taker leaves the battlefield. You may cast that card for as long as it remains exiled, and mana, blah, 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 mana wash. This is, instead of paying the cost of the creature that you want to return, you're playing 1 white-blue tap on this Spectre as a sorcery to convert the hostage. Okay, that makes a ton of sense now. And it makes way more sense why this is like a 6-mana card. It has a big body because it is expensive, but the big body is more of just like once I'm done doing the cool stuff, maybe I'll hit them once or twice. This feels like a Commander Precon kind of card. This is like a high impact card that is like fun to resolve, that like could definitely be in some theme deck or whatever. And, really lives up to the mana cost. Yeah.
I would almost want to then make this a character, like make this a commander itself, potentially. Because it's got such
a lot of heat.
Yeah. Maybe too much, but like, let's say you have a very fast commander format and you're trying to slow it down. I don't know. It is funny that you compared this to Hostage Taker, another card that had infinite self ETB when it was originally printed.
Yeah, maybe that's the cheap knockoff, or maybe not even cheap, but the knockoff.
Yeah.
Did we fall into James's trap, is what you're saying? Of course we were lured.
This is Spirit, and it's got that delayed kind of flicker. I mean, the front end flicker of this just as a like Banishing Light style thing. Flickering and then you get it is maybe not as much a flicker, but certainly the beginning is.
And I thought when I was reading this originally, like, I'm going to exile my own thing that has a cool ETB and then pay to bring it back later, which I think we would put more in the flicker zone.
Our last card for today is a submission from Mono White Border. It's Fiery Fast Runner for 4 and a red for a 4/4 creature warrior spirit with haste, and when this attacks, exile it and target creature card in your graveyard.
What?
At the beginning of combat on your next turn, return Fiery Fast Runner, except it's a copy of the exiled creature card until end of turn and has haste.
This is like the turtle, right? The slow turtle. I attack.
Oh, yeah. Is that Is that Yadaro? I always get
No,
Yadaro. Oh,
I guess
you're
it's kind of like
thinking
Idaro too. That's true. I was thinking of it like
Meandering Tower Shell.
Meandering Tower Shell. When that attacks, exile it. Return to the battlefield under your control tapped and attacking at the beginning of the next declare attacker's step. So it's like it's an undercosted creature that when it attacks, it takes a turn to actually hit. And that's sort of what this runner is doing. Like even before we think about the graveyard copy, blah, 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 it attacks, it disappears. Next turn, return it except it's a copy of the exiled creature card. Okay, so that's why it doesn't re-exile itself. It comes back, it's ready to attack as some other card.
So this is a sneak attack into the breach sort of thing from your graveyard.
Yeah.
That takes an extra turn. So like you get to haste it. If this didn't have haste, it's the equivalent of having this be an attack trigger. On the first turn it would normally attack.
Okay, yeah. So this reanimates a creature.
Mm-hmm.
Or no, it gives you like one turn, but yeah, sneak attack. It gives you one turn to attack with a creature from your graveyard next turn.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that, if that creature survives, if it survives as a copy, it reverts to being its original 4/4 self. And they can do that and wait another turn and do that again. Okay.
So I guess the closest thing is actually like a Goryo's sort of situation. Like Goryo's Vengeance, which is specifically Legends, but gives it haste, and then you exile it at the end, or Footsteps of the Goryo, which doesn't give the creature card haste, but does reanimate it, and then you sacrifice it at the end of turn. In this case, it just turns into a 4/4 that starts the loop again at the end of the turn.
Mm-hmm.
This is a really interesting choice for this design challenge.
I'm wondering if Mono Whiteboarder looked and saw there's like a Boros card, but otherwise not a lot of red in this challenge. How can we get some red in this challenge?
Mm-hmm.
How can we get a mono red card in this?
It is a spirit. It kind of flickers. It doesn't return its target in the same turn. So that is neat.
Is Fiery Fast? Is that like Orphans of the Wheat? Is that like a like a change of some card name?
This could be like a Fiery Fast Runner, like Footsteps connection. You know what I mean? Like there could be a connection between it and Footsteps of the Goryo. I can't think of a red card that this is trying to directly be from your graveyard, but it's interesting.
It's expensive enough that I'm never gonna like get way out ahead with this. Like, I'm not saying it should be, but if it was a 1-mana 1/1, for example, and I had some way to like rummage away some cards into my graveyard, and then like I put a dragon in my graveyard on turn 2 or whatever, I attack with this thing, it gets exiled. Okay, it does nothing. On turn 3, whoop, it comes back and it's a 5/5 with double strike. Oh, okay, now I've actually like I worked a little bit hard and I got something kind of funky. As a 5-mana card, it's on turn 6 that the creature's actually going to be popping out. I still probably have to do work because if my centaur dies and is in the graveyard, this Fiery Fast Runner should not bother turning into that 3/3, right?
So do you have a choice in the matter? Can this ever actually deal damage as like the 4/4?
Oh, if you have an empty graveyard, if you can't satisfy when this attacks, exile it and target creature card.
If there isn't a target creature card, does that fizzle the exile? Or does it just come back as itself?
I think because it's only got one target, the target, if it can't target, it can't go on the stack.
Okay. A breach style card, a reanimate style card, a sneak attack style card that can also just be like a 4/4 hasty creature itself. That's not the worst thing in the world, even though it's only under specific conditions. There's a rest in peace out that this is going to be perpetually a 4/4. But I would probably want to say, okay, instead of 4 and a red, can we try this out at 2 black and red? Can we try this out at 1 black and a red and like a slightly different wording on different stuff. Flavor I'd love to see is like, like masked theater, like Commedia dell'arte, or like no theater stuff with like stock roles, or like puppeteer, like Rakdos puppeteer, or like some sort of Rakdos actor who, I'm gonna be big scary dragon for a minute, but it's still like graveyard focused and like very like self-reckless. I'm gonna probably destroy myself in the process of being this thing.
Yeah, kind of in the same zone as like a morph. Like, I don't know what's under there. When I cast this spell, it's like a shapeshifty, masked, whatever. Is that sort of what you're thinking?
Or it's like, oh, this is the performer, and the performer is like clearly playing a role, if that makes sense. Like is gonna be putting a mask on.
It's not a secret. It's okay.
Yeah, it's like, oh, but the masks I'm picking from are all these dead all these dead bodies, or all these dead heroes, or all these dead scary things. We could, I always think of Rakdos could use a little bit more showmanship, a little bit more theatricality in like capital R Rakdos, like the guild.
Yeah, more theater kind of stuff. Yeah, let's do it. Alrighty, yeah.
A lot of great submissions.
Yeah. All right, let's see. What's a favorite or two here?
My favorite is Shepherding Librarian from Juliet. It really...
You're picking your own card? I love it.
No, I'm just being selfish.
Okay.
I'm very drawn to Tactical Bane's Mist Hollow Geist. It is a lot of words on a card. It is a lot of abilities on a card. But if you could somehow compact those things together, I think it's doing some mechanically interesting things.
Yeah. That's the one that like has to be soul bonded in order to be on the battlefield, basically.
If we could get those like 10 lines down to like 7 with a bunch of italics, or just shorthand some things and be like, in this, it's a mythic rare and people know what soul bond means, and all of them things that could be attached to there, or maybe just a digital only sort of thing where they don't care about.
Yeah, that's a cool card. Let's see, what am I gonna pick? We had such good things to say about that 5 Knights card, the Crypt Rat Springlock Sprinter, the like Boros card that like haste, hey, exile something, maybe get double strike. That was just like such a solid card that I might pick that one. I think my other, maybe I'll just stick with that. Maybe I'll just be happy with that. Springlock Sprinter.
Simple and sweet is a great way to get some good attention.
There we go.
Our design challenge for this November is Going Nova. Take an existing instant or sorcery card and design for us a creature card that can cast that card once.
So this could be a whole variety of things. This could be like an adventure. This could be like a channel card, maybe.
Sure.
What else could we do? Like almost like monstrous. Hey, you have this ability, but you can only activate it once. Okay.
It could be as we saw a few times with our October challenge, a creature that it kind of has its first life on the battlefield, and then you can do something with it after it's gone, either from the graveyard or as it's dying, or could be a sacrifice to do a thing. You could try to find some other way to do a Spell Shaper style thing, or play around with alternatives to adventures as well.
Yeah, I like this. I hop on Scryfall, search instants and sorceries, sort by whatever thing you want. Pick a color, pick something else that you want to do. You could flavor the creature around that spell. That's going to be extra fun.
Our bonus points for this challenge are Nothing Gold Can Stay, make the base card monocolor. And Vampire Weekend, a life payment is required somewhere.
I guess this might be a way to make the card only cast once if the life payment is steep enough that you're really unlikely to be able to do that a second time. All right.
Pay 19 life.
Yeah.
Like
Your
What
life
is
total
it?
becomes 1.
What was the org card? Do you know what I mean? Soul Gorger org. 3 red and a red for a 6/6 trample. When Soul Gorger org comes into the play, you lose all but 1 life.
Yeah. You know what? That would work for this.
A classic. Is this from Judgment? Yeah. This card scared me so much when I first started playing.
Oh yeah, it's a nightmare org. So it's one of the
Uh-huh.
it's one of those cards that like you lose all but 1 life, and
Mhm.
then you get reset back up to the life when it goes away. Okay, yeah. Kind of like the
Does-
Banisher Priest thing.
Mhm.
Something goes away and then something comes back. Yeah.
Yeah. Nothing gold can stay. As
All right.
dawn
Yeah.
goes down today.
Got a little. What were you saying? Robert Frost is what that is.
Uh-huh.
Cool. They'll be due November 29th.
Ooh, wow. Whole month.
And that'll be it for the podcast for the week. Join the Discord with the link in the show notes. Anything else you want to tell people about? Anything you got going on?
Sure. So the Moonshot Network has a charity stream coming up this November 15th in support of helping out a lot of people who have gone through some pretty wild things in the southeastern United States over the past few months with a lot of weather calamities. And so that's going to be at twitch.tv/Moonshot Network all weekend starting Friday, November 15th.
Alrighty, yeah. We'll tune into that. Is that like game streams, like that kind of stuff?
Yeah. Some video games, some trivia games. We've got a lot of cool things lined up for that whole weekend. So come tune in and have a good time starting November 15th.
Awesome. If you need to find us before then, Discord again is the place to do that. I'm Tim F. Riley there. You're Juliet.
Yeah, you can find me, Julia, on Discord. You can find me at Folly Persist on most social media sites now. I'm trying to unify that
with
brand.
Co-host, yeah.
Nothing gold can stay.
There you go.
Thanks for listening. And always remember, so Eden sank to grief, so dawn goes down today. Nothing gold can stay.